Let's talk about operating. In 2010, there were so many operators on with DX. It was like a jungle out there. DX stations would say, who's the W5 calling? And IV7 BLT would call back repeatedly. And it was, not good form. So 2010, Randy Johnson, W6SJ, created a DX Code of Conduct, which is basically saying, be a good citizen. Listen before you start calling. Make sure you know who you're calling. If you can't hear them reliably, don't call, because they may call you back, you won't know it, and you'll be wasting valuable time. If they're not calling you, don't call. Basically, be a good citizen, the golden rule, and all that. You can read these. Now, with sideband, if there's a DX station on, you'll commonly hear a pileup. And DX stations, if they're extremely rare, they'll generally operate split rather than simplex, where everybody's calling on the same frequency. They'll say, this is so-and-so listening 5 to 10 up, or even 5 down. They can basically spread out the crowd so they can hear stations, and you'll have a better chance of working them. Here's ZD7ZD. I don't know if you can hear this, but it's a little bit low, but he's calling CQ and listening simplex. And it's a mess. I don't know how he's going to pick out anybody from there. But here's some ideas. If someone's calling simplex and there's a big crowd of people calling and the DX station doesn't come back right away, sometimes there's a lull kind of at the end of the big morass of people calling. Try to sneak your call in right at the end, and maybe you'll be heard when all the other people kind of covered each other up. Use standard phonetics. I'm W6HDG. Some people call me hot dog guy, but I'm not going to say W6 hot dog guy. A lot of DX stations don't speak English very well. I'm going to use standard phonetics, W6 Hotel Delta Golf, Hotel Delta Germany, and see if I can't snag the DX. Also, try the tail end technique. The DX station is speaking with someone. The someone is ending their conversation saying, thank you very much, 73. And sometimes the DX station doesn't come back immediately, and you can sneak your call right in there at the tail end of the calling station and maybe get picked up before the DX station has to say QRZ. Common technique is DX stations that are simplex will ask for particular countries or particular call areas in the US. He'll say, are there any W3s calling? And that basically pares things down 90%, since only about 10% of the people will be calling at any one time. So it's kind of like the game of card game of Go Fish. Do you have any threes? Are there any fours? That kind of thing. Now, you might think that DX is not very conversational, and you'd be correct. Generally, DX stations want to give a report and move on to the next station, and that's okay. You're collecting, entities that you've worked, and there's still a great satisfaction of having talked to that entity and having them confirm you. No doubt about it. But very commonly, if you're a ragtour, you're going to have great conversations with other hams, particularly in English-speaking countries. I have long conversations with Australia, New Zealand, Great Britain, and get to know people in Europe conversationally. We have the advantage now with our logbook. You can put in comments. So you can say, this person has a country station up in the mountains running 100 watts with a dipole. And when you talk to that person again, you say, hey, Joe, how's your remote station doing? So you can sound like your old friends. It's commonly like consumer relation software where you have a lot of information on your screen and you can carry on a conversation from where you left off last time, even if it was a year or two later. So here I'm having a conversation with a station. I'm hearing that station and I'm not following the DX code of conduct because I think he's in Japan. And when he's done and says domo arigato, I'm going to give him my call sign. Listen to this.
岩手県了解です、ドブさん。73エクアドルからさよなら。はい、どうも。
Whiskey 6 Hotel Delta Germany.
Okay, I think I'm calling
Germany?
a Japanese
Whiskey
station.
6 Hotel Delta Germany.
W6 Hotel Delta Germany. Good to hear you. I know we have
He's not coming back in
had many
Japanese.
contacts in the past. Can't come up with a name. My brain is not working properly these days. Name is Alex, Alpha Lima Echo X-ray, personal call HC2 Alpha Oscar, and now running the club station HC2 Golf Romeo Charlie. Back to you there, over.
Oh, thank you so much, Alex. Yes, we've
I've
worked
talked to this
before on
guy
both
many times.
FT8
He's at a club
and
station.
upper sideband.
Talked to him last in
Back in 2018.
at the club.
So it's
but I've
very
talked to him
nice to see
since
you again
many times.
on phone. Name is Howard, and we're in South Florida. And I have a favor to ask. I'm actually recording this QSO because your signal's so beautiful. I'm giving a talk next week to my local radio club called DX101. So I'm teaching them about how to work DX. And no better DX than you, Alex, in Guayaquil, over.
Roger that, okay. Well, very, very intrigued to hear about that. W6 Hotel Delta Golf, Hotel Charlie 2 Golf Radio Charlie. Very nice. You know, we are actually doing something alike. Since we are in the club and we are trying to recruit younger members, because pretty much an average age now is like, 50s or even mid-50s. Yeah, with some members pushing like 90s, 100 no one, but 92 and 97 we have a few members. So we have to promote ham radio somehow. Actually challenging all those modern technologies because the young people, you know what they're doing. Everybody they're totally engrossed into their TikTok and stuff like that. So we're trying to explore those fields as well. So trying to film short videos and putting them on every social platform accessible. So I'm sorry. Now you can visit our website. There's no videos yet, so we are working on it, but hopefully within a week we will upload some videos.
Roger, Alex. By the way, you speak beautiful English, and I heard you having a QSO with a station in Japan. How many languages do you speak?
Well, for ham radio purposes, maybe 15, maybe 20. Normally, as a translator or interpreter, so what's like 4 or 5, I guess. My native is Russian. Native is Russian, but I've been living here in Ecuador for over 25 years. Pretty much Spanish, English, and Russian. Those are the 3 I speak every day. German, also maybe 2 days a week. And the rest, there is French, Italian, Polish, Ukrainian, and stuff like that. It's less frequent. You need to practice. That's the story. I think that's the story. But I'm a professional linguist, so I studied for that. But all Germanic languages mostly. That's the story, Howard. W6HDG, HC2GRC.
Oh, very good, Alex. Wow, you put me to shame. That's wonderful. Perfect to be a linguist and a ham radio operator for sure. Well, there's so many people calling you. I don't want to hold you and monopolize the contact, but it's been a delight speaking with you, Alex. Over.
Roger that, Howard. No worries. A little chat this morning with you, Howard. Greetings from South America. You have a good one.
All right, let's talk a little bit about operating sideband split. The ideal situation is if you have dual receivers. For example, in San Diego, I had an FT DX101 with 2 receivers. My headphones, I would have the DX caller in one ear and all the stations calling him or her in the other ear, and I could tune around and try to find the last caller. That's the idea. If you find the last caller and you transmit on that frequency, you stand a better chance of working the DX station, unless they're moving around quite a bit between calls. So that's the objective. Try to find out who's calling and call there. Now, if you don't have dual receivers and you have 2 VFOs like most modern radios, you simply just hit your A-B button. You're going back between one receiver and the other. One receiver, you're hearing the DX station saying QRZ, press it again, and you tune around quickly. You can get almost as good as having 2 receivers. The idea is trying to find that last station. And sometimes a DX station will say listening up, and you'll have to kind of look at your scope and see where all the callers are. Maybe it's 2 kC up, 2 kilohertz up, or 4 kilohertz up. But sometimes they'll say listening up 5. Once in a while, they'll say listening down a certain amount. Okay, so let's look at this technique more carefully. Here is a picture from a YouTube video of Steve, KABZ, who's working Ivory Coast split on 17 meters, TU5MH. If you look at this, here's the DX frequency. You don't see anything because the DX just said QRZ. But you do see the callers. And look at the spectrum scope. It's full of callers from maybe 4 kilohertz to 12 kilohertz. And how do you find the last person who called in that mess? Well, Steve describes it very well in his video.
This range from about 4 kilohertz on up to about 15. So there are people calling him over a 10 kilohertz range. So we need to see where he's listening in that 10 kilohertz range, see if he's moving up, moving down, moving around randomly. We can do that by listening on our transmit frequency at the same time we're listening on our receive frequency. Okay, now there's our Ivory Coast station. Now we're going to turn on the dual watch function. Actually, it's on already.
IC7600.
And this is a volume. Well, let me
receiver, but a dual watch feature.
Zoom out a little. This is the audio gain for our receive frequency. So that's our desired
sort
station.
of like switching between A and B.
That is the gain control for listening on our transmit frequency. So we're going to try to find a station he's working. Seems to be jumping back and forth between about 5 up and 10 up.
Ah, there it is. About 11 kilohertz.
Kilo 8, Bravo Zulu. Kilo 8, Bravo Zulu. QSL, you're 5-9 in Michigan, thanks.
And there you have it. Let's switch to FT8 now. FT8 is a fabulous mode since around 2015 or so, and it is the great equalizer because you can run very low power and have a very modest antenna and still work DX. I just heard today that the American Urologic Association, the Urologic Association, endorsed the FT8 mode because they say it's the only mode you can work DX and take a bathroom break at the same time. That was a joke. All right. Now let's look at some suggestions on operating FT8. Use the latest version of WSJTX. There's an improved version, a plus improved, which you might look at. Or there's a fork in the code called JTDX improved, a very good program. You might try them both to see what you like. These programs have a little better decoding, and they have some additional features, which makes life a little bit easier. So use those. Remember, turn on that PSK reporter spotting. You want to be a good ham and upload all received reports. And you want to make sure you're not splattering. I hear so many stations splattering. The way you do that is to lower the audio codec if your rig has a built-in audio chip, and lower that, and also lower the power slider on WSJTX. It is really not a power slider, it's an audio slider which controls power. So by adjusting those properly, you can still get full power output. So work your way up in audio level until you just get to where your transmit power is set, 30 watts in my case, and then make sure that there's no blips in your ALC meter. You want it to be dead zero. In other words, there's no clipping of the signal. And it is that ALC clipping that causes crummy sounding signals and even harmonics where you can get decoded 1 or 2 or 3 times up the band. So if you're running zero ALC, you are probably putting out a very nice signal. All right, let's look at this. This is my desktop. It's my monitor, and I'm working FT8. And if you look here, well, let's look here. I look for an open spot on the spectrum where I can transmit. Normally, WSJTX is set up to follow the calling station's frequency. So if I try to call that station, my TX will jump to that frequency. The problem with that is there may be many callers on that frequency and nobody gets decoded. Better to have your own personal frequency. And that's what I've done here. I like that area. I've been watching it, and it looks clean to me, at least from my location. Can't be sure it's clean, but it sure looks it. And I do this. I check this checkbox, hold TX frequency. So I'm going to try to hold that frequency as long as I can, make lots of contacts, but transmit from there. Unless somebody else shows up there, I might switch my TX frequency one more time. But that is essential, hold TX frequency. The other thing to look at is look at my spectrum here on WSJTX. It's fairly homogeneous. There's kind of a light blue background that goes all the way across from 0 to 3,000 kilohertz. The signals all look like they're being represented fine. Nothing looks like it's being blocked out. Now, if you have a big black hole someplace in the spectrum, or if you're not getting all the way up to 3,000 kilohertz on this background, your rig is set incorrectly. You might have a notch filter set. You might not have your width, your IF width, set to 3,000 kilohertz. You might not have your roofing filter set to 3,000 kilohertz. So check your radio, and if you have things looking like this, you're going to hear everybody who's on the band. Now, one final thing. This program is a separate companion program to WSJTX called JT Alert. Fabulous program, almost essential. Ham Radio Deluxe, I'm using their logbook. I'm not using their rig control. I'm using Winfrey ASU. But I don't like the JT Alert or the alerting feature built into HRD, Ham Radio Deluxe. I really like JT Alert a lot. This program has come a long way and offers hundreds of great features. For example, hard to find a station here to work. This is scrolling by and hard to find somebody. This presents the calls in a call sign window like this, I can set this call sign window to show stations who are the strongest at the very top. See 0 dB, -2, -4. So if I'm going to work someone, I might want to work one of the stronger stations. Down here, you see this Spanish station at -18. Probably could work him, but I may want to start by working stations at the top. The other great thing is it's showing stations I've worked before in gray. So probably don't want to work them right now. And finally, it shows whether or not the station is calling CQ, as you see here, or 73, as you see here, station calling 73, saying 73 is fair game, right? Because they're going to be up for a contact on the next cycle. So you might want to call this station in Denmark, for example. Very, very helpful. But the one super feature is that you can have it announce things like new grid, new DXCC. I especially like new DXCC. If there's a country that I haven't worked before, it'll come up in red on my WSJT call sign window. I mean, the JT Alert call sign window, but I might not be there. I may be working in the kitchen or something. This thing, if a new entity comes up, it'll say new DXCC. I'll hear it, and maybe I'll come to the radio and try to work that station. Very helpful. Now, sometimes I leave this on by accident at night, and at 3 in the morning it says new DXCC. And I have to tell you, the XYL just loves that. Great for marital relations. That is a joke. It is not. So try to shut it off at night unless you have permission from the boss. Okay, here's Elle Marie again. Remember her from earlier on? She was a tech. It's a year later. She's now a general and has a YouTube channel. That's how I originally found her initial DX contact. Here she's interviewing another ham about FT8. And I really like what this person has to say about FT8. It really puts it into perspective.
Hey everyone, Elle Marie here, call sign KJ5LXP, and today I'm here with Janice and Z5W. That's correct, right?
It is.
What are some of your thoughts on FT8?
I actually really like it. When I first started, I thought I didn't really understand why anybody would want to do a digital mode. I thought it was all about single sideband, but when I got into it, I really like watching the propagation. It's really a lot of fun to get DX stations, especially when, and I know we're going in, to the part of the solar cycle where we're not going to have the fabulous band conditions we've been having. So I think it's been fun, and I've really enjoyed it.
What's I think so powerful about FT8 is that you can really get so far out on such like minimal antenna setup, minimal power. I know we got very powerful radios right now, but anyone with a 705 and maybe a fence antenna can, be making DX contacts. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And we're I'm in a neighborhood with an HOA, so we have a very compromised antenna setup, and it's, there's a lot of days where I can barely get anybody on single sideband, but I can always get stations on FT8, and I'm really surprised at how well we're getting out with those conditions and all the the noise that's around town.
So would you say that FT8 is another tool in the toolbox, or is it a replacement for any type of radio, or how does FT8 supplement your radio style?
Yeah, for me it's not a replacement. I still love single sideband. I'd rather do POTA activations on phone all day long, but I love the propagation and really watching how fast, because sometimes it's frustrating. I was just talking to this station, where did it go? But if you're watching the propagation on PSK Reporter or Grid Tracker, or using one of the tools that come along with FT8, you can see where your signal's going and how fast the conditions can change. That gray line maybe moves just a tiny bit and you're gone. That station you were decoding a second ago is, I just had 5 stations in Japan and now nobody in Japan can hear me. So it's been fascinating. I really enjoy working with FT8.
So I was getting into, Cuba and South America a bunch, or another time I was really getting into Europe. And so it's just really exciting and cool to see, based on that type of day where your signal is going to be traveling into.
Okay. So that was encouraging. I really like that perspective about FTA. Let's finish off with CW. A lot of people are a little scared of CW. I do operate CW, and it's pretty much essential if you're going to be a DXer. A lot of DX stations are mainly on CW, and if you didn't use it, you might miss out on working some all-time new ones. This is a tool called CW Skimmer that, remember in sideband we want to find the calling frequency? Well, CW Skimmer shows you your spectrum vertically, and some radios are compatible with this. SDRs, pan adapters are compatible, and this is quite helpful. It decodes all the CW stations calling across the spectrum, and you can't see it here, but under my picture is a station who called the DXer, and it says 599 next to his call. Ah, there's the guy who called back. That is the frequency the DX station is listening to. You QSY to that frequency, he was up about maybe 10.3 or so, and add that to the DXer's frequency, and maybe I'll call on 7017, and sure enough, I was able to work a station just like this using CW Skimmer, finding the guy who called last. And this will also show you if the DXer is kind of moving up or moving down. You'll see 599s moving up and down the spectrum, and you'll know maybe I should go a little bit higher than the last caller, and boom, you get the DX station. Now, there's a trick. Some ardent CW operators are not going to like this, but it works, and I'd like to teach it to you now. You're not necessarily requiring a key. Modern radios have text memories where I can put in number 1, my call, number 2, RR5NN599. That's the abbreviation because the character 9 is so long. And thank you. So it will send this out in Morse code just by pushing a button. Now, I find the DX station the way we've described. I find the last caller to the DX station. I put my transmitter on that frequency, and I press number 1. So it sends out da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But I'm listening. How do I know the DX station called me back? If I can't hear my own call sign, and my own call sign at 30 words a minute maybe, I'm not going to know if I got called. And that's pretty useless. You're not going to make the contact. So the trick, if you'll call it that, is to learn your own call sign at a very fast speed. Not character by character, not having to decode it in your head, but to hear it like it's a song or a jingle. And you do that by starting slow with your call sign. Perhaps your code's good enough to have decoded that, but you work your way up and you're memorizing the sound. Keep going, 15 words a minute, 20 words a minute, 30 words a minute. So you get the idea. You're going to hear that in your sleep, and when the DX station returns your call after pushing number 1, you're going to say, oh, you just called me. Now I'm going to push number 2, and you've made the contact. You'll hear that a lot when working DX. So within a week or so, you might be making a CW contact, even if you don't own a key. So let's talk about some final DX tips here. DXpeditions last for a few days, sometimes a week or 2 weeks. What I notice is as things move along, and it's a week or 10 days after the start, the DX station is having trouble finding callers. Rather than being completely swamped, they might actually be calling CQ at that point. And what a great time to work them. So all is not lost. Wait a few days and see if you can't work the DX station. Also, be sure to get a QSL card or an LOTW confirmation for every band and mode you work a DX station. Don't be satisfied with working them once, like I felt like when I was first getting my first DXCC. I work them once, and sure enough, I've got one more towards my DXCC. Get them all confirmed. Operate DX contests. And those are usually listed at WA7BNM contest calendar. And look for ones that say DX. And finally, use Clublog. This is a great program. They have a live DXpedition mode that shows if this station was live right now on Rodriguez Island here, you would be seeing that he's on 10 meter phone, 6 meter, 12 meter, and 15 meter FT8. Plus, all the call signs that he's working, his logbook is live, and this is scrolling. So you can see if you've worked that station. And it's just a great tool, plus a lot of other great tools. All right, that's it. Well, thank you very much for listening.